coming to the topic of immense importance always, which is fundraising, and and I know that Skydo has raised, of course, money from Elevation, a bunch of marquee investors. It's still early days, and I think there is obviously a long road ahead. But what have been some of the initial learnings, Srivatsan, I think around fundraising, around kind of and kind of just building relationship with investors, and this is always something that founders are very cagey about, right? Especially first time founders.
Yeah, I'm continuing to learn every day, and I think hopefully becoming better every day. But um, the it's a tough one, right? It's one of the tougher parts of building a venture funded startup. From deciding whether you really need venture capital, is your business model going to benefit from venture capital? Because um, it is like mounting a tiger, right? So then you better decide whether you really want to do it before you do it. Because the venture capital industry has its own economics and way of working, and what needs to happen for it to work. So given that, I think the first step is to know, and we actually quite deeply deliberated this even when we started, that do we need investors? There were lots of friends of mine, very well-meaning friends, who actually said, somehow bootstrap your way to 2 million ARR, and then figure it out, or at least just get friends and family money and then get to 2 million and so on. But we very consciously chose that we will be a venture funded company because of two reasons. One is, both of our ambitions was to build a large business, and when I say large, a really large, globally relevant business, which could potentially, go and IPO in some of the largest markets in the world and so on, which means that it has to be a multi-$100 million revenue business. That was our aspiration. Um, and so we said that, in this large aspiration, we need as many partners as we can get. And those partners can come in the form of investors, employees, advisors, and so on and so on. So we have always been very keen. And one of the good things that we did was we actually got a bunch of angel investors even in our seed round. In fact, a little over 60 angel investors at that point, and I think a further 20 odd in the second round. And we also got a few smaller but very thoughtful institutional investors. You are one of them, right? To also partner with us because they had some unique insights, and a strong goodwill to be part of our business. So I think what we have done well, these are all the things that we have done well, which is be clear about why we need venture capital, and therefore sign up for the journey that comes along with it. Then get not just the lead investor, but also be generous with sharing some equity with angels, with advisors, and so on, and also bring in people who may not necessarily bring you a large check, but actually bring a large heart and tremendous unique insight. So that those are things we have done well. What we have probably not done as well so far, and which we want to keep doing better, is stay in touch with a set of people, through fundraising and non-fundraising seasons, right? Obviously, it is difficult, and it's only a question of bandwidth. The intent has always been there. But when we are not raising capital, thinking of these folks not as capital providers. This is not a tap that I need to open only when I need water, but this is actually a friend that I can keep in touch with. And I think that's something we can do better, and we have started addressing it a little bit, but I think we can keep building on that. Because ultimately, I think in subsequent rounds, especially as we go along, see, now we are what is called post PMF, and on the cusp of between seed and early growth. That's where we are in terms of our scale, right? Soon we'll be in growth stages where track record trajectory, then did you actually do what you said you will do last year when we met? And then consistency of progress over the years. That's what really investors are looking for. Nobody's going to make a point in time decision to put in a few tens of millions of dollars, which would be the size of ticket in larger rounds. But they would actually be very thoughtful investments made after tracking somebody for several months or several years. So I think that's probably what we should start doing a lot better and a lot more consistently going forward.
Yeah, I think one of my observations has been that that both of you have approached kind of really building relationship with investors and fundraising in general with a very, it's a truly partnership driven way of looking at things, right? Versus kind of introducing an unnecessary power dynamic, which is where I think that causes a lot of stress for founders in
Yeah.
general. But the moment you take this, and it's almost a very forthright approach of saying that, look, I mean, we all are kind of building this together, right? So, I mean, this is not an adversarial competition, and I'm truly kind of looking for people who are aligned with the team and with the vision and with where the company is headed. So, I think that is truly refreshing, and I think a lot of founders can learn from that.
Yeah, exactly. Because the amount of mental bandwidth you need to spend to actually, think about game theory scenarios and thinking if I did this, if I said this, if I actually email this person, should I email versus WhatsApp? Should I take 10 days to check in versus not? If I send a message now, will I look weak versus strong? I think it's just so hard. I just think that, it's better just put the cards on the table and say, hey, this is the reason I'm racing. I really like you because these are the things you get about our business. Is there a way to make it work?
Yeah,
Right. And I think that's probably easier on everybody. It may not always pay off. And I think while I'll probably be making an oversimplification if I say that this is the only thing that fundraising depends on, there is also a lot of market dynamics, availability of other interesting opportunities for investors to pursue, and so on. And in fact, you may be the best company in your space, but if another somebody who is at zero point 0.8 of your capability but available at 0.5 of your price, that might still be a very attractive proposition for someone else. So there are lots of other dynamics, right? So I'm not saying we should be naive, but I'm just saying there is just too much complication involved in playing out game theory scenarios, but a lot easier being straight.
yeah. Ultimately, I think it comes down to both the sides, having enough space in the process to do what I call as conviction building. I think that's most important. I think once people come in with true conviction on both sides, it's actually becomes a very beautiful journey for both sides,
Yeah.
irrespective of anyway building a company's hard, right? But I think it just makes things much easier on every stakeholder.